reading right now, I don't have the controls, I'm not taking inventories on a routine basis, so I'm gonna use my last 12 months. Last 12 months purchases divided by last 12 months sales, if that's what I've gotta do. And I find out my food cost was running 26%. My NA-BEV 18%, 18%, 26%. I'm using big fat hairy numbers for this example. You're gonna come up with, I like 2 decimals, okay? And there's my cost of goods sold. 26% of $97,000 is $25,000. 18%, 18 cents on every dollar of $7,000 is $1,300. It's a variable expense based on category to category. Make sense? Any questions? Now, come down here, I'm gonna look at my labor expense, my owner's salary. Well, my owner's not making any money yet. God bless them, no admin. Come here and we go 666, 6.67. These are my salaries, right? Because it's a fixed expense, it's right here, sorry. If it's a percentage, a variable, it's over here. So my hourly managers are 3.5, 5%, 1.3. And you literally are gonna fly because you're gonna set up your budget to be in the same order as that spreadsheet. And so it's just simple enough. Then I come down to my taxes, benefits, insurance, and I figured out that my employee benefits are 12% of payroll. This is the only section that's of payroll, not of total sales. Of payroll, 12% of payroll. Come down to my workers' comp, and workers' comp has an $800 payment on a monthly basis, and my health insurance I pay for one manager, $850, some small restaurant. Simple enough, yes? We're gonna go through expenses later in a second, but let me show you how nice this is. It's not a spreadsheet, it's software. I'm gonna right click, use this budget basis. That was all my sales. If I want to notice my cost of goods sold, if I want to do that, I'd right click. If I want to do a single line, otherwise if I want to do the whole month, use this budget basis, watch each of the columns. It's all filled in. This is going to make budgeting very easy to do. If anybody is a spreadsheet geek like me to create variable expenses, I mean, you're redoing formulas, it's nuts. All you gotta do is right click, budget basis, done. Now I didn't go through line by line, I'm gonna show you that in a second, of what what we would be doing. So now I'm gonna go out of this, I'm not gonna save this, I'm gonna use this for later. I'm gonna go to my step 2, which already has all this information. So I've already filled in all the labor, all the cost of goods sold, come down here, and here's where I told you I was gonna fill, you didn't need to watch me type in all these expenses, but my building lease is a fixed expense, $8,500 payment, my insurance, my utilities, I've decided to weighted average it instead of line by line. Trash removal, repairs and maintenance, I'm spending about 1% of sales, is what I did last year. I don't care if last year you did a renovation. Put this number in what you did last year. We're gonna change things, that's our plan. Just give me what you did last year. And we go down and we go through line by line by line, every single line item. What are discount rates and credit cards, the whole bit. The more information we have, the better. That ultimately when we build this whole month, all I do again is come here, use July, use this basis. The whole year is filled out. Is that easy? It's going to be that damn easy. Guess what? I know if I operate the next 12 months the way I did the last 12 months, I'm going to run an 8.59% profit margin, and I'm going to make $125,000. If I operate the next 12 months like I did the last 12 months, that's what I'm going to make or lose. By the way, Albert Einstein says the definition of insanity is what? Doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting what? A different result. I add to that. How's it working for you? This exercise is important because I want you to look at that 8.59%. Know that the average restaurant makes a nickel to 8 cents on every dollar, 5 to 8%. Know that Ohio State University did a study a decade ago, showed that out of all restaurants, 62% of all restaurants fail in the first 3 years of business. It's not much difference between chain restaurants and independents. Pizza places, by the way, are amongst the worst at a 78% failure rate. Why? Because every Tom, Dick, and Harry can make a pie, opens a pizza place. Runs it like a mom and pop, not like a business. Mexican food is the other one. Again, very easy business. If I make a great pizza, I make great tacos, I can open a restaurant. You guys can't do that. You've got to put the systems in place. Let me tell you where your profit margins should be. If you do at least $750,000 a year more in sales, and you are pizza pasta, even if you weren't, I'd expect you, my goal for you is a 15 to 20% profit margin. Screw industry averages. Without giving up guest satisfaction, without cutting product quality, you hear me, I will never have you go against your core values. But you are tripping over thousands of dollars every single month because your employees are idiots, so you jump on the line. You jump on the window. You get in your car. Instead of paying attention to your numbers, setting targets, training people on systems, holding them accountable to those systems, measure, improve, you're doing line employee jobs. You're saving $10 an hour, losing thousands of dollars. Your budget is going to set a spotlight on all the areas where you've got problems. That's why we've got to start this process. So now, what do? I've got all this information. I see that my profit margin is 8.59%. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to start to look and say, what are the changes I'm going to make? Number one, what do you think your sales are going to do? Are they going to go up, or are they going to go down? You're trending 10% up, 2% up, right? The longer you've been in business, the smaller percentage it is, because you reach some maximum capacity. It's difficult, unless we're going to add catering, it's difficult to get a 10% increase. But depending on where you are in your life cycle, where am I? And let's say in this restaurant, I determined I was going to go up about, I think I said 10%, but I've got my number here. I project I'm going to do 1.539534.62. Now watch my screen. Look at all these months now change. It's allocating based on percentage of sales, 8%, and so on. So when I get all the way to the end here, as it caught up, I'm now a $1.5 million store. And every month, 7.5% of that number. It stays a weighted average. My seasonality is still there. So I just change the one number. I can create multiple scenarios. What if my sales go down 10%? What if my sales go up 5%? Once we create this template, you can create a whole bunch of scenarios. Different plans by just changing one frickin' number. It's cool. If you don't think it's cool, I'm gonna poke you in the eye. I think it's cool. It's so cool. All right. And those of you who've ever done a budget on a spreadsheet, you know this. I mean, it's a nightmare sometimes. So now, I've got all that information. What else am I going to do? Well, I don't think my sales mix is changing, but I look at my cost of goods sold and I say, you know what? Oh, wait, I just want to show you something. Actually, CFA, 8.59%. I'm going to click refresh for the bottom numbers here. Just by increasing sales, I make more money. Why? Every dollar above break-even point drops me more money. If I've paid all my rent, I've paid all my fixed costs, once they're out of the way, there's not pennies going from that dollar to pay for that. All I've got is labor, all I've got is food, liquor, and any other variable expenses I have in my business. So every other penny, my profitability goes through the roof just by increasing sales. If I'm at break-even point or better. That's big. So do know, sales do cure all ills. Sometimes we can't increase our sales big enough if we're running so poorly. Yes, sir.
So you adjust the sales, it is just the payroll?
Just everything, as whatever variable.
Fixed cost.
Except for fixed costs. It's like freaking magic.
Good.
I hope so, I appreciate that. This started as a desktop piece of software for years, and then we put it online. I built this because if you ever done a budget in QuickBooks, it's bullshit, it's all fixed. If you ever done a spreadsheet, making changes is nuts. And so this tool is to make this ugly process easy for you. Now, got all that information, I'm making more money because my sales went up, I already can see that change. But I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna say, well, I'm gonna make changes. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna insert a comment. I'm right-clicking, because I need a plan, I need to leave a little crumbs. What the hell, what was I thinking? Why is that number change? Well, we're gonna implement purchase allotment system. I'm gonna teach you today. Key item report, I'm gonna teach you that today. That's why, for those who came in late, I asked everybody if you had to be somewhere, because I'm probably gonna go 3 hours. I wanna give you more information. I don't like 2.5 hours for this topic. There's so much to go over. Key item report and waste sheet. 2 clipboard systems, I'm gonna teach that. So now I hit save. Now you'll see a little triangle pop up. When I put my mouse over it, it's gonna tell me what I left. I'm dropping in crumbs. What was my plan? Now I know that if I implement those 3 systems, I'm promising you a 2 to 3 point drop in food costs. I'm telling you right now, promising you that. Well, I gotta train it. The next month, I'm gonna hold them accountable. Drop food costs by 3%. And I'm gonna show you, without recipe cards, without inventory, why this works. We're holding our managers accountable to something and putting them on a budget. So what does that mean? I immediately go to a 23% food cost. So now watch. I like that number. I'm gonna right-click just that one cell, use as budget basis. The rest of the year is 23%. You all see that? Like, this becomes really easy. Oh, but I also know, because I'm going to teach you recipe costing cards, we're going to start recipe costing cards. Oops. I'm going to have them completed by, let's see, July, August, or say by September. End of September. So we're going to set goals, right? So I'm saying right here, I'm going to implement these things, and I'm going to start my journey on recipe costing cards. I've determined that with my chef or my kitchen manager that 3 months is reasonable. 40, 60 man hours of work. Real work. I suck at great work. But now I come in here and say, okay, you're going to be done by September. That means in October, we're going to do an MPG call, the DSP, that's me. We're going to menu engineer to a, let's see where I wanted to go with my targets. Did I give myself a target? Yeah, no, okay, so we're going to go to a 23. Let me see here what I was going to, oh yeah, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to a 18% ideal food cost for a 20% actual. Oops. See, I'm going to teach you what ideal food cost is. You'll never be perfect. I give my managers 1.5 to 2 points above food cost, ideal, to execute. So that means I'm hitting a target of 20% cost of goods sold. Oh, I'm going to have those new menu items, or new menus on the table, November 1. Right, this is my goal. We're going to do an analysis, we're going to redesign, I'll put it on the menu, right on the table here November 1st. Menu, 20% target. So now what do? Come here, November, go to 20%. Right click, use as budget basis, yes, come all the way across, 20%, 20%, 20%. See, I set a plan. I don't snap my fingers, go, oh, new budget, we're gonna go from 26%, 20% food costs, like that. No, what's my plan? What systems are gonna be in place? How long is it gonna take? What are my goals to shoot for? Does that make sense? Now, let me just show you that one small change. I'm gonna hit refresh down here, look at this, 9.84, 151,000. Not even a full year down to my 20% cost of goods sold. I'm at 13% profit margin. Because why? 81% of all my sales in this business is food. This is the one area that will have a dramatic impact on my business because I sell mostly food. If you sold more beer, more wine, we're gonna have a different impact. But right now, was that difficult? No, what am I doing? Setting targets. I'm putting in place a plan. Now, when you're an owner and you're working with your management team, do you just say you need to reduce food costs? Or do you say, here's the plan, here are the systems, you oversee, make sure it's done, you train the people to recipe cards, you train them on key out of ports way sheet? What a difference in managing your people are, because you have actual targets, not some number you grabbed in a magazine. These are the numbers you have to do to make money. These are your numbers. You can back these down. You may go, 20%, no, David, I'm okay with 24%. God bless you. It's your damn restaurant. So now, what else can I do? My NA Bev looks good. My liquor, I went 16 to 18%. If you've got a well, if you do a call, I'll probably be at 21%, maybe 23 if you're selling a lot of higher end booze. That looks good to me. Bottled beer, once you get 25%, unless I'm selling a lot of craft beer, then I might get up to 28% because the bottle's more expensive and I can't charge as much. But I have great cash contribution. That looks fine to me. Draft, I got a problem in my draft. I'm looking for a 21% draft food pour cost, but if I'm selling more craft beer, probably 23%. So I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna put in place, we're going to call beer guy in to check lines, and pressure. You got it. I can't type fast and accurately. Should be 23%. So I'm going to get that done, and I'm just leaving crumbs in here, and I'm going to have that done by this month, 23%. Right click, use budget basis. I'm setting into motion my plan. I look at my wine's okay. And oh, by the way, if I make a change to wine, it's 1% of sales. Like, it's not going to move the needle. I may have a problem and I want to fix it, don't get me wrong. But where's my impact? 81 cents of every dollar comes in is food. I need to fix my food cost. That's what I need to do. Now I come down here and I look at my payroll. And I do the same process. So I look at my payroll and I say, oh, manager salaries, I'm going to add a manager. I'm going to lose a manager. Yeah, that looks fine with me. If I were $1 million a year business, 1.5, I might spend as much as 10% of my sales, including taxes, benefits, insurance on management. When I get higher up, I'm not spending 10%. $2 million, $3 million store, no. You're gonna know what your salaries are in your marketplace, what your restaurant can afford, that's what matters. If I'm a small restaurant, I do $850, I do call $500,000, $350,000 pizza place. I'm the GM. I'm gonna have some supervisors. I don't have money for management. Don't have it. So we have to know more about your business, what's possible in your business. If I do at least $850,000 a year, just so we're clear, owners, I'm firing you. You are not a manager. If you are managing your business, I got a manager on the floor, we got a problem. You should be making 15 to 20% profit margin with you not being a manager on the floor. And there's not a manager in this room that wouldn't love to fire you. Driving me nuts, man. Just lead us, don't be on the floor every day, okay? So I'm gonna look at this, and I say, okay, my management salaries look okay, that's under 10%. My servers, man, that looks high. I got a problem. So we're going to come in here, we're going to insert a comment, we're going to implement the labor allotment. System. First audit POS for all employees. So I'm going to show you later to make sure people are punching in the right job codes, right pay rates, all that's done. Hold managers accountable to new targets, August. Because remember, notice I'm not just making a change until I train my managers. How do I hold someone accountable if I didn't train them and they show me they got it? They have to show me they understand. Now I can hold you accountable. Otherwise, I still got to train. I got to keep training. So I look at this and I say, you know what? I'm going to, servers, my target's 3.5%. Oh, 3.5, here we go. And I'm literally just going to arbitrarily think that 3.5. Bartender's locating me, busser's locating me. Some bitch, I want 10 to 12% in my kitchen, including dishwashers. I'm at 14.5%. So I'm going to decide, do I want more dishwashers, or am I going to have some of my, I'm going to get rid of dishwashers during lunch. My cooks are going to have to do dishes. Yep, part of the job. Or I'm slow enough that they can pile them all up, and I'll bring the dishwasher in, and they're going to be busy from the moment they walk in the door. Choices we make. How do you want to run your business? But I'm going to sit there and say, well, these guys are reduce 2%. From back of house. I decided I'm going to go to 1.5. There's 1 point. I'm going to take this to 10.5. So I'm now at my 12% labor. Right click, use a budget basis. Right click, use a budget basis. Make sense? Now let's just look at this real quick. Refresh, I'm going to go from a 13% profit margin to 16. I might add a manager in here at a certain point in time. I'm going to add an assistant manager. Oh, when I do, I may have to get more aggressive with my cost of goods sold. I may have to reduce the number of hours I've got for line employees, because if you're a quick serve concept, your managers don't get like full service managers walk on the floor, may jump in the line every now and then to help. But in quick serve, my manager's a working manager. When it's busy, the place is only this freaking big. You're jumping on the ovens, you're jumping on the drawer or the cashier, or you're jumping on the phones. You're doing something during the rush. Then I'm managing when the rush is over. Everybody feels that, right? That's if you're quick serve, you know what I'm talking about. So you decide so it means if I'm a quick serve restaurant, often what I'm going to do is take a line employee, give them more management responsibilities, taking the same dollar amount. I'm actually raising the dollar amount but using the same hours. And if I raise my labor cost and I want to run a 55% prime cost or under, what do? Reduce my cost of goods sold. We're in a trade. Now, there is one thing I skipped. Notice cost of goods sold. See, that's red. Labor cost, that's black, and that's red. All I do is right click and I make it a part of prime cost or not. See, it's red now. Because all labor is not a part of prime cost. So when I come down to the bottom here, when I've got all this information in here, let me refresh again because I made that change. Here's my prime cost, 62%, then I'm down to 54, 57, depending on seasonality. I end the year at 55. I'm literally creating a plan to hit my numbers. That each month, as I go across, and you'll see when I'm busier or slower, my prime cost, I have $164, this is $4,000 a month, my prime cost is 47. I do 115, my prime cost, 52. When I'm 115,000, it's 55. I'm going to have different targets. Now I've got a plan for success. Does this make sense? You've laid out what you're going to do. Now I'm literally going to go down, next is line by line. I'm going to look at this and say, oh, Am I gonna go renegotiate my lease, try and do that? Am I gonna come down here and say utilities? Am I gonna investigate new freezer? Right, maybe you've got an old piece of equipment. Maybe you're such a small place, you're still using a household freezer. I love those, the stand-up freezers. They hold up so well in a restaurant. And we go line by line by line. We say, maybe I had a maintenance in here, and we say, you know what? All reno finished. And so I'm gonna take this down to 0.5%. I'm literally gonna have a budget. And I make line by line changes. These are arbitrary, you understand? I'm just picking these out of the air. When I talk with you, you know about your business and what you need. You may go, I'm going to expect to do a renovation. Notice here, I can come to November. I'm going to switch this November, this month, to $10,000. Kitchen renovation. I'll switch it back. And so now I've got an expense just for that month, because I know my cash flow. I understand when I'm going to do it. So I don't have to, doesn't have to be the same all the way through. I can even come up, if my sales change, my sales mix, because I'm seasonal, I get a huge bar business in the summer, and I do 50% food, 50% liquor, I'm going to make the change. And everything will change down below. When all's said and done, I've got a ton of information. Let's refresh here. Notice my profitability is about to drop a little bit. Well, I guess negligible because it was only 10 grand and I lowered the other stuff. So what do I have? I know my sales, my cost of goods sold, targets, but more importantly, here's my prime cost. And I've got my break-even point down at the bottom. See this 90,000, 75, 78, 78, 87, 73. Based on how inefficient or efficiently I'm operating, there's something called a break-even point calculation, which is your variable expenses divided by your gross sales gives you what your percentage, your MIP marginal income percentage. Then I know my fixed expenses. I divide my MIP. I'm not going to, don't worry, you don't need to know all this stuff. It's going to tell me what my break-even point is for every dollar comes in, what are my variable expenses, how many pennies are left over, how many dollars do I need to sell to put those pennies together to cover all my fixed expenses, where I get to break-even point. Every dollar in, every dollar out. Make no money, lose no money. That's my break-even point. Most of us think my break-even point is not necessary to know. It's huge. So I'm going to show you something. Let's say, just for shits and grins, I'm going to change this number here, call it $1,000. Pretend that's a fixed payment. This interest expense is actually a loan that you pay. Now, let me refresh this. I come down here to the bottom, and my break-even point is $93,000. Let me write this down. 93149.23. That means for every dollar comes in, every dollar goes out, I would break even, make no money, lose no money at $93,000 in sales. How do you decide to bring a band in? I'm going to spend $1,000. How do you decide to do an ad? What impact would be? What's the impact if I finally have a lease payment goes away? So let me ask you a question. If my break-even point is $93,000, and that was a loan payment, a lease that expires, what do you think is going to happen to my break-even point? $1,000 expense is going away. What do you think? What will happen to that break-even point? It'll go down by how much? $1,000. That's what we think. Watch this. This restaurant, for every dollar in fixed cost I can reduce, I reduce my break-even point by $3.50, if you will. That means I have to do $3,000 less in sales to break even. That means I start making more money $3,000 earlier than I did. Not $1,000 for $1,000, Because of my efficiencies or inefficiencies, for every fixed dollar, I do $3 less in sales to cover that $1,000. Your efficiencies go way up. That's huge. Now I can decide whether to spend the $3,000 on that marketing campaign. What do I have to increase my sales in order to overcome that? Whether I do the band. How much sales does the band have to bring in? Because I want to do better than break even. Because every dollar comes in, there's variable expense. Well, when that fixed cost is, that reduces how much I got to cover, I start making money faster, $3,000 faster, not $1,000 faster. Does that make sense? See, I'll get you excited about these numbers. It's huge what I can do with this. Now, everybody understands making their plan, right? Any questions on the software or how we got to this point?
Can you integrate it with QuickBooks or not?
It will export to QuickBooks, yes. And we can import QuickBooks files. I'm going to show you budget variance.
And then can you do budget to actual
That's my next slide.
to 13-week period
Yes,
with QuickBooks?
yes. I have this set up as months,
Right.
but it's set up quick 13 period or, in fact, I have a 52 period. If you want to do weekly accounting for
Yeah.
cash flow, you can go 52 period.
Okay.
I'm just in a month because most everybody's month. Everybody understand what 13 period accounting is? For those of you who don't, you make 13 4-week periods instead of one month has 5 Fridays. Last year it didn't have 5 Fridays, and comparing is difficult. It means I can make an inventory every Sunday, and it all works. Payroll works easy. All this fits in easy buckets. If I were to open a brand new restaurant, I'd probably go 13 period accounting. But if you're monthly, don't make the change, because now all that history is bullshit to you, unless you want to change all those numbers. Like, you know, you want to see what you did last January, then you're going to keep it the way it is and just move along. Now,
Do you have good tutorials online for this?
do I have good tutorials online? There is a webinar on there for your replay and to walk through, but call us, we'll help you. I'm not going to leave you high and dry. For our members, the only people that get this are our members who are in our online software called Smart Systems Pro, members of ours, which handles every aspect of your business. We have unlimited training support. I'm not going to leave you hanging. We're going to help you. You're now, for all intents and purposes, kind of a sub-member to me. I'm going to help you with this. The only difference is, if you're a member, I'm going to do this for you. Me and my team, we're going to take your numbers, we're going to set up a template, we're getting on a phone call, we're going to negotiate each one of these things, we'll tell you what's possible, what's not. We're going to negotiate it, and by the time we're done, we have a plan together. That's the only difference. But I'm going to make sure you have these tools. Answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, I don't want to save that, so I can use it again later. I'm now going to answer your question. We do have the ability that if you can export your file from QuickBooks in a spreadsheet, which you all can if you use QuickBooks, we have a mapping tool that matches your chart of accounts to ours you map. Once you've mapped it once, it's an export-import. And I get my actual to go next to my budget, okay? So now, here we go. We're going to go full screen on this. Notice down here bottom, I'm going to close it down so you see, here's the actual budget. Then I click on actual numbers. And now my actuals. I can type them in manually or I can do an import. Here's what I thought I was going to do in sales. Here's what I actually did in sales. In fact, I'm $1,300 over. That should be a positive. I got to change that. My sales were higher than my forecasted sales. My cost of goods sold, now let me keep this down here. My target cost of goods sold was 26%, but not 26% of 103,000, 26% of 105,000, right? 26 cents on every dollar comes in. I had more dollars come in, so I'm going to use more product. So the software says, screw your forecasted sales, your budget was off of actual sales. What did I actually do in sales? Because it's a variable expense on real sales. So in this case, I should have used $27,000 in product based on inventories and what have you. I used $28,000. I lost $845 this month. Go down, each item does the same thing. In this case, I'm $500 over budget, almost $600 over budget in cost of goods sold. Come down here, line by line for payroll. over $887 over budget, not including taxes, benefits, insurance. Go line item, and all I'm gonna do is I type in the actual number from my P&L or import it. And I see where I hit or miss. Sometimes I don't use all the money. You may have repairs and maintenance, for instance, 0.5%, but I didn't repair anything this month. You'll have a $0. We'll be to the good. I may use it next month, 1,000, right, twice as much. I'm gonna keep myself on budget. And I go line by line, I see where I hit or missed, and I have an accounting error, whatever it may be. Come all the way down to the bottom. And in this case, I lost $1,400 over what I forecasted in profitability. What's my goal now? To edit the rest of the year's budget to make that $1,400 back, not just accept I screwed the pooch, I lost money. Because that's what we do right now. Because hell, when you get this budget, it's already passed. And nobody makes a change. You're going to be able to look and say, where we hit or missed, what do we do? Are we sticking to the plan we did in the comments? Am I following the plan? Does my plan need to change? Because I can go up, if sales are changing, I can change my sales by month, switch it back to fixed, and just edit sales. Change, sales mix is changing, change the sales mix, move it across. New cost of goods sold, need a new menu, change. So you don't do a budget and forget about it. Every month, that which we measure improves. My lard ass goes on a diet at least twice a year. My problem is I travel so much. So when I'm home, I get on the scale, and every time I get on the scale, oh, I'm doing good. Then I travel, and somehow my pants get shorter. I haven't figured out how that happened. Right? I'm no longer getting on a scale. I'm just eating, drinking, having a good time. Right? Last night, went out with my high school buddies. We had chicken wings, and pizza, and beer, and I'm like, well, that's not really good for a diet, is it? But I won't know till I go home and go, son of a bitch. Well, that's not how we want to run our businesses, is it? We need to put our plan together. We need to measure. Now I want to show you something else that's really exciting. So did I answer your question about the QuickBooks? Does this make sense? You're just going to, all right? Look at this. I'm going to bring this back in. Now, something really important. Now, I'm going to get ahead of myself to a point where, what time is it now? 11:02. Okay. Everybody's okay going to noon? Yeah? You can tell me I suck and you're going to leave. That's okay. But I'm going till noon, all right? It won't hurt my feelings. It really won't, because I won't care. No. Watch this. This is a part, at the end of today, when I go through the labor stuff, I want to show you something that is just amazing to me. Now, here's my total labor. This is taxes, benefits, insurance, and raw labor cost. This is my raw labor cost, because here's my taxes, benefits, insurance. This plus this is total labor. When I run my business for my managers, I give them raw labor costs, this total labor cost line, because they can't control or keep track of when somebody hit their FICA SUI limits and we don't keep all the deductions, or if they're a new employee and I've got higher worker comp, and they can't do that. But they can manage if I pay somebody $10 an hour. So here's what I'm going to do. See this 29%? I'm going to bring it up here. 29% labor costs. You all see that? That's my raw labor costs. That's what I would give my managers to manage to. But notice the next month, 25.94, 25.99, 27, 26, 27. Come all the way. It's different every single month based on my volumes. Well, what do you guys do? You grab an industry average. You read a magazine or saw a jackass like me speak from Sage and went home and said, that's my number. No, your number is based on your seasonality, your information. Because why? There are months where I have minimum staffing levels. Like I'm so slow. I got one guy on the line. I got one person on the register. I've got the phones. I got a driver. And I've got salaried managers chewing up all my money, because salaried managers are a fixed expense. And you're like, why are you riding me, man? I'm cut. I'm as lean as I can be, to a point where we may damage the business. So lean, I may damage the business. Well, guess what? I'm going to have a higher labor cost in my slow months on purpose, because my salaried managers chew up all my money, and I still got to minimum staff my business. Then when I'm kicking ass in season, my managers are a smaller percentage of sales. They don't get paid more. We're just busier. And there's a point in time where I can't add another cook to the line. Can't add another cashier. Can't add another server. The only people we can add more are drivers, right? That's just how many people can I put on the road. With that said, there's a point in time where I reach maximum efficiencies. And no matter how much I do in sales, I'm just busier. And so my labor doesn't grow any larger, it stays the same. My labor cost drops. So I have to have a 12-month budget, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come all the way across, and I may have a 26.9% labor cost for the year, but each month ranges from 25 to 27%. That's the number I'm going to use for my managers that specific month. And later, I'm going to show you how we're going to change that. That number will be different by day of the week. That won't be 27.41% every day, Monday through Sunday. One day may be a 32% labor cost. So I had my ass handed to me over the weekend and got all this prep to do on the slowest sales day of the week, on Monday. But on Friday, I'm kicking ass. I'm full, and my customers, there's lines of people. I'm just efficient. And I might run a 19% labor cost. So I'm going to give you all these tools to make a difference. Are there any questions on this budget? Because I'm going to show you the system.